All right, so we've had a pretty good look at Forge World itself. Let's take a look at some of the things that we've done with Forge World. It's been very important for us from the very beginning to make sure that Forge is awesome to use.
Over.
We'll be right back. Simmer down.
What about chess? Show us that Spectre.
What day when chess was April Fool's, my friend? But again, it was very important for us from day one to make sure that Forge is awesome to use. We saw the things that people were doing, and I don't just mean the maps. I mean the art and all the crazy things that you guys have come up with. And we wanted to make sure that that was as painless as possible. And to that end, we made sure that designers, myself for example, and Chris Carney, are one of our multiplayer design leads who's back at the ranch, actually built maps for the disc. What's that? Okay. So we're going to show you another map from the Forge World list called The Cage. And this is a map that Carney built originally completely inside Forge. And it's going to be on the disc and matchmaking when you pick up your copy. That's great. It's a loading screen. That's awesome. All right. So the Cage is reminiscent of maps such as Lockout or Guardian, actually made by the guy that I believe made Lockout and Guardian. He's not a one-trick pony, I promise. It's an asymmetrical map built onto the cliffside, which isn't actually one of the spaces that we had planned for building on Forge. This was actually just a demonstration that just because we've built these unique spaces doesn't mean you actually have to use them. You can build pretty much wherever. And what Carney did here is he built this nice asymmetrical map, and he added, here's the kill volumes I mentioned earlier. So if you fall far enough into this volume, you'll die, similar to like falling in Lockout, for example, or Blackout. There's hologram. He thought I was gonna fall for it. Is this just the theme today? Is that I get my butt kicked all day today? Alright. So what you saw there was that I used hologram, but if you haven't noticed just yet, I don't have an armor ability attached. The way he did that was that he was actually able to place his own. In custom games, you are actually able to define whether or not a user can have armor abilities at the start, or if they don't, and then you can build a map in Forge where they actually have to pick them up like power items, like an overshield or active camo. I drop that there, and I go and I pick it up, and now I can sprint. And I think that's about all we got to show for you guys. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I kind of feel sorry for anyone that's just walking in. It's like, when did Halo turn into Legos? I don't even know what's going on. But obviously the team's put a ton of work into this, and we really can't wait to see what all of you do as soon as we put this tool in your hand in September. Say what?
Unicorn!
I don't think we have a unicorn here. Sorry.
The headshot with the needle rifle.
All right, we'll do Q&A at the end. Just to kind of wrap up, I know we had a lot of stuff, and we actually have a lot of people that worked on Forge World that obviously couldn't be here today. So really quickly, I thought we'd just switch over. I wanted to show you, we have a new Vidoc that we prepared that's actually going to get released tonight, 7 o'clock. So we thought we'd give you guys the first glimpse of it. You've already seen Forge World before anybody else in the world, so we wanted to just give you a quick view of this Vidoc, and then we have one more really sweet thing to show you. So let me just see if I can remember how to navigate this here. Video library, yes. And I think, I don't know if we mentioned this specifically, but obviously all your maps that you build in Forge, you'll be able to save, name, tag either on Bungie.net or directly in the game itself. So not only is it easier to build stuff better than you could before, but it's going to be way easier to share and find that stuff as well. So that means that Shishka and the team will be able to find your awesome maps, get them into matchmaking, and who knows, maybe you could be famous and everybody could be playing your version of the map that you built on the rock face. So, oh yes, the question was, can you have more than 100? Actually, yes, you can. I believe the final limit is you can have up to 1,000 of every item type. So 1,000 game types, 1,000 maps, 1,000 screenshots. And I should also just mention too, just like Halo 3, you'll still be able to fully customize your own game types as well. So mixing that with Forge is kind of where things really start to get crazy. And just like you can add armor abilities like Shishka showed, you also have the ability to do cool things like turn on unlimited armor ability energy, for example, which allows you to kind of fly your jetpack indefinitely. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff that you guys are going to be doing, and we can't wait to see that. So let me just show you this Vidoc real quick. One last look at Forge World, and I'll be back in a sec.
First time I looked at Forge World, and I was like, oh, hey, cool, that's... Oh, holy, you guys did what?
There's just way too much. You can't keep it all in your head at once. It was so beyond our production capability. We were just like, that's crazy. We can't do that. I couldn't stop the artist who started creating it.
Forge is our editing tool that players can build their own maps. I mean, at its core, it's a map editor. We always had this vision right from the get-go, which is anyone can build anything.
Giving the fans the tools, they can take it and run with it and make it their own.
Forge World actually started as 5 separate maps.
And I said, wouldn't it be cool if, like, you could play this and go over there, and then play over there if you wanted. And Forge World was born. There were a lot of people telling us that, no, you cannot ship this as one big map.
We have this awesome new automatically generated LOD system called impostering that makes objects that are really far away really cheap to draw.
We're pushing what we can do with the Forge budget, so that lets us have many more objects up on the screen at once, which lets us put more objects in the Forge.
You just need to take the Banshee or Falcon out for a spin in Forge World because it actually takes a while to get from one end to the other.
The second you come into this space, you should know that you're on Halo. Our old friend, the Forerunners, come back because the Forerunners create all sorts of cool, interesting pieces of geometry. We wanted to give people a variety of locations that they could forge in a different way. So a gulch, an island, an interior, a very small outdoor pocket, and then the rock, which was kind of based off Ascension. Let's use a lot of interesting parts in it so that people can manipulate it or we can change it. Why don't we bring back Blood Gulch and carve it all up into pieces so that people can start manipulating it in interesting ways. And then Sanctuary was the other one. The Cage and Paradiso, that's just Chad and I playing with a map editor and actually building cool maps within Forge World. I mean, we were doing that exactly how the fans would do that.
We definitely looked at what we did in Halo 3 and said, what can we learn from this? It's one thing to build just a stunning amount of map variants, but like nobody was expecting Forge art, I don't think. Like that was just a completely, whoa, what?
The Rube Goldberg machines, yeah, those are everywhere.
In Halo 3, it was cool that you could move things around, but it was still kind of clunky.
And we're like, we have to make this better.
What are some of the tricks that the community is using, and how can we make those not be tricks and just make those be tools?
We took that stuff and made it like a real feature. There's normal, phased, and fixed. So normal is like Halo 3 style, it bumps into stuff and you let it go and it falls to the ground and moves around and stuff. And fixed is the same thing, except when you let it go, it stays exactly where it was. And then phased is the coolest because it means that while you're editing the object, it's not actually interacting with the environment. You can put it through a wall, you can put it, through other objects.
Which changed everything for Forge, like immediately.
It's much easier to build a Forge space. There's snaps and rotates and degrees and units that you can move things. You can be very precise.
the camera controls, it's actually really good for object placement because like